3, 2, 1. It's the Liver Shop. Welcome back, bud.
Yep, episode 4. It's March 10th. Last night we just saw Fight Night 146, Lewis versus Dos Santos. So we'll recap that a bit. But first we're going to start with some fights that were just announced this week. Or in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But Paulo Costa dropped out of his fight with Yoel Romero.
Yeah. Third time.
Yeah, I've been really excited to see that. They did announce that Jacare Souza will be taking that spot, which is, he was kind of waiting for that spot if one of them fell through.
He had no one else to fight in the meantime.
Yeah.
Who was he going to fight?
It makes sense. So that fight's in Brazil. That'll be a good one. That card's actually shaping up to have a pretty good card. I think the main event is going to be Rose and Jessica Andrade.
Yeah.
But I think that there'll be some other good fights on that card, so it'll be worth getting for sure.
Any Brazil card's fun just because it's in Brazil and they're wild. And then now you got, a Brazilian in there fighting. I mean, that's going to be a great matchup just to see everybody, the atmosphere.
Yeah, it'll be good. It'll be a good fight. I would rather see Paulo Costa, another Brazilian, in that matchup in a fight we haven't seen before.
Can you believe that's 3 times that's fallen through?
No, third time?
That's the 3rd time I read this morning.
Yeah,
I mean, it's almost like that Connor Diaz. It just keeps falling through because it's just bad timing.
Yeah, I don't know. I want to see it. Hopefully it happens.
Yep.
But I'll watch this one instead. Very recently it was announced Lionheart is trying to bounce back and take that fight against Gustafsson in Sweden.
Yeah, that's a Sweden card.
Yeah, that's the fight I said last week that I wanted to see made for him coming off that fight. Well, hopefully it happens. I don't think I've heard anything that's official yet.
Well, think about this. That's good. Lionheart's coming off that fight with Jones. He took a little bit of damage, but he's recovered well. I mean, that Ozdemir fight, his leg was destroyed, and he came back quick. Now having this fight, Gustafsson's been off since Jones. He's healed up. Anthony will heal up. These are 2 guys that already top contention can jump right back into the fighting the title again. Plus, I love the matchup. I mean, when we talked about that last week, that's a matchup I want to see.
Yeah, both of them are looking to get back into a title fight, and the only way you can do that is by fighting title contenders. I think size-wise it makes sense. I'd love to see Anthony Smith against another top fighter to see how it works, because though he lasted 5 rounds against Jones, he did lose every single round against Jones.
And Gustafsson's won.
He has won rounds.
He's won rounds against Jones.
That was years ago.
So I think, exactly. And I think that's what's going to be fun again is you got 2 guys that have already fought the champ. They're trying to get back to do it again. So there's a lot on the line for these guys, which in turn just makes it an unreal fight.
Yeah, I think if that fight happens, I'm way excited for it.
Yeah, that's going to be big. Sweet.
Another fight announced recently. BJ Penn coming back. Fight Clay Guida. I think he's on that UFC 237 card in Brazil.
Give me your thoughts on that, because that's its own topic within a topic.
I'd rather not watch it.
Really?
Yeah.
You're that off-putting just because BJ probably should have stayed retired, and Clay has been around since prehistoric time.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen BJ just lose and lose and lose and lose.
And not fun losses. A heel hook to Ryan Hall.
That's bad.
To a guy that is known to only attack their ground game.
That's the first time he tapped.
Yes, that's the first time his career he's tapped. Fights before that, Yair Rodriguez, a hungry young kid coming up. I don't know why that fight ever made it. And I don't know if you remember, Dana had already told him, BJ, I don't think you should come back. Comes back anyway, fights, and in the post-interview on there when he loses to Yair's like, I think Dana was right, I shouldn't have came back. And everybody thought it was over. And then the Ryan Hall fight happens, and you know what BJ said? He says, I need to fight somebody I know I can beat, which is obviously wrong.
Who? There's no one
in that division. BJ is 40 years old. He has been an absolute legacy fighter. Everybody knows who he is. He's had monster fights, but also the fights he had were almost 15 years ago in a different UFC MMA event. Yeah. I'm sorry.
It's a different sport.
And I think both guys have absolutely nothing to gain and, again, nothing to lose. It's almost a why even go do it. But same time, I hope they put on a show because Clay's on a 2-fight winning streak in a division that he's got a long time to even be his name to be considered. And then BJ's just out of the woodwork, just making fights to make fights.
Yeah, I'm hoping that he's... I mean, not that I'm hoping that... I guess... I'd like to think that he is just trying to get a win before he retires.
I think that's a lot of what it is.
Yeah, and he just wants to go out on a win, and it just sucks that he has to keep going back to the Belfort because it's gonna be tough to get a win.
Yep.
But I don't understand why the fight gets made. And
maybe because Clay's really exciting. I think that's why. Is Clay's a really exciting fighter, even though he loses a lot, and BJ's a name, so it's two clashes of two different realities.
Here's two classes from two different sports.
Very much so. A guy that at one point thought that they were going to fight at heavyweight, by the way.
So, Roy Jones Jr. has verbally accepted Vitor Belfort's challenge to fight a mixed rules boxing fight. Are you interested in this?
I'm not, because I get, again, a sniff that smells exactly like what we just saw in Golden Boy Productions with Chuck Liddell fighting Tito Ortiz. I do not think that is something that we need to see again, because that was a terrible, boring fight. Everyone said it shouldn't have been a fight, and it still happened, and no one was happy. I think this happens again. Roy Jones Jr., by the way, is 50 years old. Vitor Belfort has been in some of the biggest wars, biggest fights, taken damage, given damage, has been around forever. Taking steroids. He's on T-ball, so he's back on T-ball because they're probably not drug testing over in one. He looks great, but... you got a guy that is just ferocious and done crazy things in the ring. Then you got another veteran that's been around forever that's already past his prime. You're just mixing two old guys again that still have that itch to fight. When do you get rid of that itch? Honestly. Vitor left the UFC, or was basically kicked out of the UFC and went over to ONE, and now still wants to fight. I guess when you don't know anything different, you just don't see the signs that say this needs to stop.
Yeah, I wanted to see an Anderson Silva Roy Jones fight forever. That was my favorite boxer and my favorite fighter.
So why not?
I wanted to see them fight. I thought that was going to be. I wanted to see that more than I wanted to see Silva GSP back in the day. And they would always tease it.
Sure.
And
it was an exciting fight
to me. Ever since Vitor left Anderson's camp. Yeah. And then Anderson kicked his face in.
That front kick. That's 2 front kick knockouts, by the way, on Vitor. Machida did the same thing to him on his retirement night.
But that ever since then, they've had beef, and I think this is Vitor more trying to steal that fight from Anderson than it is an entertaining fight.
It's hard to get excited about it.
Yeah, I'm not excited about it. Roy Jones Jr. needed to stop fighting so many years ago.
50 years old.
Yeah, he's been taking fights for years that he shouldn't be taking. So I don't want to see him take another fight.
This guy's 7 years younger than my dad. Should not be in a ring, especially with an MMA fighter.
The other thing is, he said he's going to fight before, and I don't know how real this is.
Yeah, I agree. So
that'll take us to last night.
Yeah.